Nawa koe te sere tara, tasasa tere waha sere teriku, tatakata jahiksi jahiks, tatakata skiri, tatakata pahakstatu. Hello, greetings everybody. My Indian name is the Heavens See Her. My English name is Sky Seeing Bleeding Fox. I come from the People's People or Pawnee. I also come from the Skeety Band and the Pumpkin Vine Clan. And it is good to see everybody today. My presentation is going to be over restoring buffalo and restoring the communities. So a little bit about me. I am an enrolled member of the Pawnee Nation. I am in the U.S. Army Reserves. I'm a 92 Alpha Automated Logistical Specialist. I am about to start my third semester at Haskell Indian Nations University. I'm finally taking the intro classes to American Indian Studies. And I am a member of the Tanka Fund, Young Adult Buffalo Lifeway Society, and the Pawnee Seed Preservation Society. So I'm going to start off with the significance of buffalo. When I was doing my research and reading a lot of articles and papers and stuff, it was mentioned that buffalo were the first ecological engineers and keystone species and maintaining grasslands and the prairies and such with their wallowing and cutting back the woodlands and just maintaining it. It is the national mammal for our country, so it's significant in that way. And then also all or a lot, if not all of tribes have some type of respect for the buffalo. Each of us have different songs, dances, and prayers that go into with us dealing with buffalo, and every aspect of the animal was utilized and is still utilized. So I can't talk about restoring communities without talking about how we got here. So with the Indian Removal Act of 1830 that was signed by Andrew Jackson, forced a lot of tribes across North America to be relocated to Indian Territory, which is now known as Oklahoma. And Oklahoma was chosen because it was basically like a no man's land, and they thought there's nothing here. And during and after this time, children were taken and forced into boarding schools, and the motto was kill the Indian, save the man, like kind of like kill the buffalo, kill the Indian, save the man. And because of boarding schools and the removal, a lot of tribes in Oklahoma lost teachings and traditions that are detrimental to the tribe's well-being. And that manifests today as drug and alcohol abuse, poverty, MMIW, child neglect, and all of these issues are present in all of our communities. And the loss of culture and traditions and the connectedness is a loss of way of life. It's a loss of spirit. And yeah. So Indigenous land stewardship is the understanding that there is a relationship to be had with the land and everything that resides on her. These quotes, Indigenous peoples in North America have used traditional Indigenous knowledge and wisdom to live within and relate to the environment since time immemorial. Indigenous knowledge is grounded in the human realization that life surrounding us can teach us valuable lessons. So Indigenous land stewardship, for me, it's the understanding that the earth is a living being and everything, the grass is living, the water is living, the animals are living, and we're all able to have a relationship with those. And tribes can take existing practices and utilize them in reconnecting with the environment. So you can read journal entries that were written by the explorers, settlers, and take what they wrote about and bring them back to life, utilize those practices that they wrote about. And for me, I work at school, I work with the Haskell and greenhouse. And something that we talk about a lot when we are doing our restoration work is our goal is not to heal the earth, but to heal with the earth. And this picture is a picture of me at the Haskell Wetlands on campus in Lawrence, Kansas. Haskell has a diverse land. We have wetlands, woodlands, and prairies. And so I'm able to do a lot of restoration work in those areas. And here there's a canal you can kind of see in the corner. That canal goes through campus, and on the other side of that, there's factories and a bunch of gas stations. And there's a lot of trash that falls into that canal and goes down into the wetlands. And the beavers that live in those canals, their dams will pick up that trash, and it's honestly really sad. The trash is like they're using the trash to build their dams and stuff. But on this day, I believe we picked up 110 pounds of trash, and there was 4 of us that was out there that day. Traditional ecological knowledge mainstream. Traditional ecological knowledge is kind of like, I think indigenous land stewardship stems from traditional ecological knowledge. It can kind of be described in the same way, just like how our languages, that our native languages that we speak, there's different interpretations of things that we say. And I think that's kind of the same with traditional ecological knowledge and indigenous land stewardship. But I came across this document, the USDA Indigenous Stewardship Methods and NRCS Conservation Practices, and I've never heard of it before. I thought it was really cool and it was a really good read. And I really liked how they specified in it that that it is intended to be a living document. And now we're seeing regenerative ranching research happening, and is starting to be utilized in programs like the Climate Smart program. Is kind of helping boost traditional ecological knowledge to become more mainstream. And TEC, which is the acronym for traditional ecological knowledge, and indigenous land stewardship and regenerative ranching all can be compared because it's based off of principles, not practices, and letting each piece of the system work synergistically. And something that I learned this summer, and I heard a lot with my time with Tanka Fund, was that you are a steward of the land before you are a buffalo manager. And that is something that has kind of stuck with me throughout this summer. This picture is of a bull that the Four Bands Cattle Company has. His name is Archie. He he's one of my favorite bulls that we have. He was bottle fed, so he's like kind of like a pet. Okay. This Oklahoma tribes and buffalo. So growing up in Oklahoma, we don't really have that connection to the buffalo like tribes up north do. So there's a lot of unknown. And a conversation I had with my dad was we were talking about the tribe getting a buffalo herd, and I was like, I didn't know if it was the lack of interest or the lack of not knowing. And it's the lack of not knowing that creates that lack of interest. And in Oklahoma, it is difficult to get involved with farming and ranching if your family doesn't already do that. So it's important to spread awareness of the different organizations that have the resources to help tribal people and individuals, and kind of just getting the word out. I have 2 examples of tribes that have herds. There are a few more tribes that have their own herds, but the Osage Nation, they have over a head of buffalo on a 3,000 acre preserve. Their lands are really beautiful over there. They have a butcher house that they're able to, they donate meat to their ceremonies, and then they're able to sell bison meat and cattle, and I think poultry as well. I'm not 100% sure. But the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma, they have over 250 head of herd, and they have two programs that stem from them getting a buffalo herd, which is their farm and ranch program. They provide operation and management of over $1 million in farming assets and buffalo, cattle, crops, farming equipment, and tribal reserves. And they also serve as a steward to preserve and maintain tribally owned lands, cultural sites, and livestock and water resources while promoting environmental sustainability. They also have a buffalo program that provides elders and tribal members who have been diagnosed with or that are at risk of diabetes. Indigenous youth. So during the removal and the boarding school era, the government went after our children to kind of strip us away of those traditions and those teachings. And when we're young and growing up, those are critical years because our brains are forming and we absorb and just soak up everything that's around us. And um, so it's important to create spaces for youth to exist as youth. Something I learned with my time in the military is no question is a dumb question. Um, you never know, like somebody could be thinking the same thing and more questions can stem from your questions. And allowing for youth to be in these spaces and ask the questions, we're allowing them to gain different perspectives and be able to create their own perspective and their own way of thinking. And if not the youth, who will continue the work? When I was reading articles and stuff, I found this website, and this quote really stuck out to me. When Indigenous youth have a sense of belonging, a sense of empowerment to change the conditions that affect them, and a strong cultural identity, they become resilient, powerful individuals for their communities. This picture is of a little girl during one of our work days at Haskell. Um, she is putting a chemical on I think that is a Japanese bush honeysuckle. It's really invasive in Kansas. It's everywhere. The green in the background and the tree line, that is the bush honeysuckle. Um, and we were cutting those down, and we had to use chemicals to get rid of them because they grow back fast. And these are pictures from last summer during my internship with ITBC. We got to take the mobile cultural harvest trailer to a couple of tribes to do harvests in the field. And this is a harvest on the Crow Reservation. And that is me and one of the other interns, Summer Freda Hawk. And we were separating the organs with some little crow girls. New and rekindling relationships. So we all know Indian country is small. And when you kind of get into like these subgroups like the powwow world or buffalo restoration and food sovereignty, it gets even smaller. And in these little communities that we have, we're able to have mentorships and mentor and mentee relationships. And we're also able to meet the next generations of families who have known each other for a long time. These are pictures from the same crow harvest. This first one is a picture of me and my sister. She's not really an outdoorsy girl. She's in school to become a doctor. But I was able to take her on that trip, and she got to see that. And we're cleaning off um, the stomach, part of the stomach, I believe. And this picture is Mr. Leroy Stewart. I believe he sits on the board for ITBC. He's also the herd manager for the crows. I met him at that harvest, and he actually is my cousin's dad. And I've never met him before, so that was really nice to run into him and get to visit with him. Um, their mom passed away a few years ago, so it was nice to see him and talk to him. Here are some different opportunities for the youth. ITBC has internships, and they have the Red Calf cohort, which they take youth. I believe they take high school students around uh, to get some exposure to buffalo restoration. There's the State of Youth in Food and Agricultural Leadership Summit at the University of Arkansas, and ISC has the youth board members and youth panels, and then Tanka Fund with the internships and the Young Adult Buffalo Lifeways. Um, the Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals also has